Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Express. Damian Nelson and David Hero coming here at you again, answering your email questions. And to be a part of the show, all you need to do is visit pwrshow.com. Again, that's pwrshow.com. Use the Contact Us link, send an email via the show's website, and we will consider it for reading on air. So you ready to get right down to it, David?
Let's roll.
First email comes from Jose Ramirez, who says, I just want to ask, how do you think Marty Jannetty feels every time someone compares current tag teams with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, always saying Marty Jannetty was the failure after the tag team as a singles competitor?
Well, I think Marty made that bed. Now he's going to sleep in it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, what other tag team besides the Hart Foundation can you really say one went off to world championship status, Hall of Fame, legend, icon? The other one was just over there. Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, Marty Jannetty, and Shawn Michaels.
But nobody ever says they got Neidhart, or they were the Neidhart of the team.
Because Neidhart still somehow managed to have somewhat of a career after that. You know? I mean, I love Marty to death, but face it, he really screwed up.
Hey, it keeps Marty Jannetty's name out there, though.
And he is available for independent bookings.
Thank you very much for that email. Next email comes from Joe, who says, I wanted to know what your guys' favorite pay-per-views of all time were. For Joe personally, it was WrestleMania 19 because Y2J versus HBK had a match that he considered to be gold.
For me, I think
favorite pay-per-view of all time.
It had to be the WrestleMania where it was Hogan versus Rock.
WrestleMania 18 from
X8.
Skydome.
You just had everybody that was anybody was on that. You had Taker versus Flair. You had Triple H and Jericho for the unified title. You had Scott Hall, Steve Austin, Kevin Nash, Booker T, Dallas Page, Edge and Christian. I mean, it was the who's who.
Interesting question. First one that comes to mind would be, as far as watching it, I would have to say WrestleMania 8. WrestleMania 8, much for the reasons you just gave, had about as much going for it. You had Hogan, you had Savage, you had Flair, you had Piper, you had Bret Hart, obviously. You had all these big stars. It was the first real singles outing for Shawn Michaels. It was probably the best commentary pairing and delivery of all time with Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. You had the big picture of Elizabeth that was going to be shown that never got shown. You had the promo in the back between Roddy Piper and Bret Hart when Piper was hiding the brass knucks behind the belt. So much happened. The return of the Ultimate Warrior actually at that pay-per-view back before the internet would have told us that was going to happen beforehand. I would say WrestleMania 8. And then I would also say that Invasion was a good pay-per-view back in 2001 as well. For this reason, it was significant in its nature because of what it meant. It was WCW versus WWE. It was the first time. It was what everybody wanted to see. Granted, that's not what was delivered.
Yeah.
Steve Austin turned heel. It really had a great feel. So it was the first match between Jeff Hardy and RVD that we can really speak of being a great match. Invasion was a good pay-per-view for its significance, and still, I believe, in the top 10 non-WrestleMania pay-per-views as far as people who purchased it.
That was a good pay-per-view, but WrestleMania 18 was far better.
Thank you very much for that email. Next comes from David. David says, I'm from Boston. My buddy dragged me to the ECW Arena in Philly to watch the first United States pay-per-view event from Dragongate USA, Enter the Dragon. I have to say, one of the best pure wrestling shows I've seen live. I'm sure you discussed this on your show, but wondering your thoughts on Dragongate USA, and would love to hear you guys talk about it a bit. Love your shows, and tell Cosentino to stop being a baby and take a bump. Frank will never take a bump. Dragongate USA, for those of you that don't know, made their debut a couple of weeks back out in Philadelphia, and from what I hear, I have not had a chance to watch the show. It will be released on DVD, but from what I hear, it was an amazing show featuring such talents as the Brian Kendrick. Now, you've got Ring of Honor, you've got Dragongate USA. They also did a show in Chicago where Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were doing autograph signings. And these are really, and people who've been to these shows will tell you that these are the most well-done pure wrestling shows out there. And the question is, how far will those shows go? We talked recently about ROH doing its recent attendance record in Boston, as a matter of fact, of about 900 visitors or 900 attendees to that show.
That's
but
huge.
For that show, exactly. But Dragongate USA, I believe Gabe Sapowski, who was formerly involved with Ring of Honor before some stuff happened, is involved with that promotion as well. But David, your thoughts on Dragongate USA?
Dragongate. I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen their product either. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I'm sure it's going to be another nice touring company. You know, not on the same level, of course, as a WWE or a TNA, but I'm sure them and Ring of Honor should be very competitive.
Thank you very much for that email. First one is from Troy. I'm sorry, next one is from Troy Dean from Madison, Wisconsin. Says this one, David, and listen closely. I've been a fan of the business for about 25 years. Growing up, it was the NWA, the Horsemen versus Risky Business, Legion of Doom, and stuff like the Freebirds dropped Ted DiBiase on the floor, and back then it was crazy. Is it fair to say the business back then is better than it is now? Or is it because of the high spots people pull off these days that make the business better? Also, with this new Hart dynasty, why would they not bring in Teddy Hart or Jack Evans? With Sting winding down in wrestling, do you think he should get a send-off like Flair did, or do you think he should jump to WWE quick like Goldberg did before he becomes Hall of Fame bound? Lots of questions in there. The first one is wrestling back in the day better?
Are you saying
than
the
it is
80s?
now.
Is that back
Yeah.
in the days, the 80s?
Mhm.
I think wrestling in the 80s meant more back then.
Meant more to us as fans, meant more
I
to the
think
business.
meant
in
more
general.
in general. I mean, it was a build-up. You know, it wasn't every 3 weeks there was a new main event for a pay-per-view. I mean, when Randy Savage dropped that bell across Ricky Steamboat's throat, they didn't
It was
touch
heinous.
each other for 6 months.
Yeah.
So when they finally got in the ring together, you know, it
Which was
meant something.
WrestleMania 3. That led up to
WrestleMania 3. I mean, nowadays everything just happens so fast. A TV match is like 4 minutes or less, whereas back then, you know, sure, you know, you didn't get to see that. That right there, you know, is it also TV changed. You know, back in the 80s, you had Wrestling Superstars, Wrestling Challenge. It was always the job guys against the stars. Now there really aren't any job guys, you know, per se.
Right.
And so now,
Except the local jobber, who even if he isn't local, is local.
right, absolutely. But-
From insert whatever city we're in now here.
So, you know, for me, I guess it was more fun to watch in the 80s. Now it's more exciting, I guess you could say, because more things can happen quicker. But overall, I don't think anything will top the Attitude Era. But 80s wrestling, I thought, is what, you know, got the ball rolling.
Well, and you got the buy-in back in that time due to the time given to angles and the time given to stories. And
The guys knew how to work back then.
because they had to. They had to do those 20, 30-minute matches standard, and that's what the people wanted. Now, what do you hear during a match like that?
You
on
get it
Raw?
boring quick, real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People want fast-paced, they want action, they want excitement, they want that double-barreled approach. And quite frankly, I think when that wall was broken was in 1996, 7-ish, after WWE realized that Nitro was a better product, and they realized that you can't give the same sludge that you've been giving for the last few years, and we started getting those main event matches on Monday night. Once that happened, it took a lot of significance out of a lot of the business.
Now everybody wants to see the train wreck. You know, they want to see the big bump off the top of the Hell in a Cell.
They're waiting for it.
Yeah.
Well, Troy Dean from Madison, Wisconsin, thank you very much for that email, and we want to make sure you send us your emails as well. The website address is pwrshow.com. Go ahead and click on the Contact Us link and send us an email with your question or comment. And don't forget, send your topics in for the Cospective as well. Whatever you want to hear Frank talk about, go ahead and send that in to pwrshow.com. We'll be back again soon with another edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Express for the Cause, David Hero, and the man they call Meathead. This is Damian Nelson saying thanks for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report. We'll see you again soon.
On October 18th, TNA Wrestling presents its biggest event ever, Bound for Glory on DirecTV pay-per-view. before the opening bell. Check out TNA Before the Glory on the 101 Network.
When I see that intensity, it's going to fuel me.
I respect Kurt Angle, but I'm also going to hand him his ass. I'm going to kill him.
TNA presents Before the Glory, premiering October 7th at 11 Eastern on the 101 Network, only on DirecTV.